You've entered the red light files. Welcome back. I hope you're doing well, wherever you are, in whatever time it is. Tonight, I've gathered a few stories that left me feeling unsettled. Real encounters, shared by people who were just living their normal lives until something changed. Let's get into it.
Story 1.
My son's imaginary friend knows things no one should know.
We moved into my wife's childhood home last fall, after her mother passed away. It was an old place on the edge of town, the kind that creaks when you breathe and always feels like it's watching you, even when you're alone. Our son, Mason, is 5. He adjusted faster than we did. Within a week, he was exploring every corner, running through rooms like they were his personal kingdom. And then, about 2 weeks in, he told us he had a new friend. That's normal for kids, right? Imaginary friends. Especially after big life changes. So we didn't think much of it. At first, he called her Miss Ellie. The first time he mentioned her, we were at the dinner table. He'd barely touched his food. "Miss Ellie doesn't like peas," he said. "She says they smell like wet socks." My wife and I exchanged a look. I chuckled and said, "Well, good thing she doesn't have to eat them." Mason grinned. "She doesn't eat anything. She just watches." That made me pause. But again, kids are weird. I moved on. She knew my wife's childhood nickname. A few nights later, we were putting Mason to bed when he asked me, "Why doesn't Mommy like being called Button?" I froze. That was the nickname her father gave her when she was little. He passed away when she was 12. I'd only heard it once, in an old voicemail her mom left before we got married. We never used it around Mason. I asked him where he heard that. "Miss Ellie says it all the time," he said. "She said Mommy used to laugh when her daddy said it, but now she cries." I confronted my wife. She looked pale. Swore she hadn't used the word in years. That's when I started to worry. She described people we've never talked about. Over the next few days, Mason would casually drop details that didn't make sense. He mentioned the lady with the purple scarf, my wife's great-aunt, who died when she was a teenager. He described a wooden music box that used to sit on the fireplace mantel, one that had been stored away in the attic since before Mason was born. Then, one morning, he came downstairs and said, "Miss Ellie says the boy in the photo is sad because no one talks about him." We didn't know what he meant until we found Mason standing in the hallway, staring at an old framed family photo. He was pointing at a kid standing in the back. It was my wife's cousin. He died in an accident when he was 12. She told me about him once, late at night, drunk on wine, sobbing. That photo had been untouched on that wall for decades. I set up a baby monitor. It wasn't just the strange things he said. It was the way he said them. Calm. Matter of fact. Like he wasn't inventing, just repeating. So I set up a baby monitor in his room. Not to spy. Just to see if he was talking to himself, maybe practicing stories or acting things out. The first 2 nights, nothing. The third night, around 2:40 a.m., I heard whispering. I replayed the audio at full volume. Mason's voice was clear. "Okay, I'll ask her tomorrow. But you promise you won't tell my daddy?" Then silence. And a second voice. A woman's voice. Whisper soft. Raspy. "Only if he stops looking. He looks too much." I rewound it 3 times. My wife refused to listen. The painting in the basement. Mason drew a picture the next day. Crayons on printer paper. It showed our house. The front porch. The swing. The window with blue curtains. And a figure standing in the basement window, a woman in black, with no face. We asked him who it was. "Miss Ellie," he said, like it was obvious. "She lives downstairs now. She said the attic is too noisy." That night, we checked the basement. It was normal. Cold. Dusty. Nothing unusual. until I found a patch of wall behind the old workbench that sounded hollow. There was something inside. A wooden box. It was locked. The letter inside. After 2 days, I gave in and broke it open. Inside was a folded piece of paper, aged and yellow. Handwritten in cursive. It was a letter. Dated 1953. From someone named Eleanor. It talked about how she couldn't live with herself, about the pain she caused, about the children. At the end, it read, "I hear them in the night. I don't know if they forgive me. If you find this, please tell them I'm sorry. No last name. No address. Just Miss Ellie at the bottom." We left the next week. Mason stopped talking about her after that. He doesn't mention her at all now. But every once in a while, I catch him staring at the air vents. Or whispering into the bathroom mirror. And one time, just once, he told me, "She says you'll come back one day. When the house forgets." Story 2.
We found a cassette tape in the attic, and it had my voice on it.
This happened last year, and even now, I'm still trying to make sense of it. In October, my wife and I bought an old house in Vermont. It was built in the late 60s, with a dusty attic, creaky floorboards, and wallpaper that smelled faintly of books and mildew. We got it cheap because the previous owner, an elderly man, passed away and had no living relatives. The house came as is, furniture and all. Honestly, it felt like stepping into someone else's unfinished life. We spent the first few weeks cleaning room by room. Then one afternoon, while reorganizing the attic, I found a cardboard box tucked behind a false panel in the wall. It was unmarked. Inside, a stack of old papers, a broken Polaroid camera, a couple of keys, and a cassette tape, labeled simply, "Play Me." I thought it was a joke. I laughed at first. Like, what is this, a haunted house cliché? But I still had my dad's old Walkman in a drawer somewhere. I dug it out, popped in fresh batteries, and hit play. It was my voice. Not a voice that sounded like mine. It was mine. I recognized the way I breathed between sentences, the way I overemphasized certain words. It was eerie. Like listening to a voicemail you don't remember leaving. Except this wasn't just a few seconds. The recording was over 19 minutes long. What was I saying? It started with ambient noise, like wind or static. Then I spoke. "Okay. I don't know if this is working. I'm in the attic. The lights don't stay on, but I think I'm safe for now." My blood ran cold. My wife thought I was messing with her, but I made her listen. Her face turned pale after just a minute. I mentioned things in the recording that hadn't happened yet. Like, "If you find this, check the crawlspace under the stairs. That's where they come in." We hadn't even noticed a crawlspace there. But when we checked, it was real. Just a square wooden panel under the first floor stairs. Nailed shut. I didn't want to open it. More than just my voice. The middle of the tape was just wrong. There was static, then heavy breathing, then a second voice. Whispering. Female. Almost singing. It said something like, "You brought it back. Just like before." Then, clear as day, my voice said, "If I don't make it, burn the box. Don't open the second tape." I never saw a second tape in the box. But now I had to look. We went back to the attic and pulled everything out. After nearly 2 hours, I found it, stuck behind a broken slat in the floor. Another cassette. No label. Just a faint symbol scratched into the plastic, a small spiral, drawn in pen. I didn't play it. Not then. The dream that night. I had a nightmare. In it, I was sitting in the attic, holding the Walkman. Except it was newer. Cleaner. My clothes were different. I was speaking into it, but no sound came out. Then a woman stepped out of the shadows. Her face was obscured, like someone had blurred it in a photo. She sat across from me, and in a soft voice, said, "You're not the first version. But maybe you'll be the last." When I woke up, my shirt was soaked in sweat. The Walkman was on my nightstand. I had left it in the attic. I finally played the second tape. A week later, I gave in. I locked the door to the study, put on headphones, and hit play. It was distorted, voices layered over each other, like 2 or 3 people talking at once, all whispering variations of the same sentence. "You came back. You came back. You came back." Over and over. Then silence. Then my voice again, different now. Slower. Almost resigned. "This isn't the first loop. You've played this before. You'll play it again. I keep leaving messages. And you keep finding them. The only way out is to forget. But you keep remembering." The tape stopped. I just sat there. Frozen. The tape is gone. I wanted to show my wife. But when I opened the player, the tape wasn't there. I swear on everything, I never took it out. I searched the entire study. The attic. The trash. Nothing. Just gone. Now, sometimes when I walk past the attic stairs, I swear I hear that static sound again. That faint whisper. "You came back." And last night, I found a new box in the attic. Empty. But it had the same spiral symbol carved into the inside lid. Story 3.
I keep seeing my own face. But it's not me.
This might be hard to explain without sounding insane. But I'll try. Because something's happening to me. And either I'm losing my mind, or something is watching me, with my face. It started with a blink. 3 weeks ago, I was brushing my teeth before bed. Normal night, nothing strange. I leaned forward to spit and glanced up into the mirror. My reflection blinked, but I hadn't. You read that right. I didn't blink. But my reflection did. It was fast. Subtle. The kind of thing you could easily dismiss. I stood there frozen, toothbrush in hand, staring at myself. Maybe I had blinked and didn't register it. That's what I told myself. I was tired. Whatever. But now I watch when I'm in front of the mirror. Constantly checking. And it's happened again. And again. Tiny delays. Little inconsistencies. Sometimes the reflection is just off. Not backwards, obviously. Just delayed. Like I'll raise my hand to scratch my head, and it lifts just a fraction of a second too late. Or the wrong hand moves. Other times, the mouth doesn't fully sync up. Like I'll smile, and it frowns. Just for a moment. I've recorded myself. Nothing strange ever shows up on the video. But when I look in the mirror directly, it's there. Whatever it is, it doesn't want to be caught on camera. My girlfriend saw it too. Last Thursday, my girlfriend Katie was over. I didn't tell her anything. I wanted to see if she noticed on her own. We were brushing our teeth side by side when she suddenly stopped mid-rinse, stared at the mirror, and whispered, Did you just move your eyes when I wasn't looking?" I said no. She turned to look at me, pale. "Your face looked angry." "But you're not angry." I asked her to explain, but she just shook it off. She thought she was imagining things. That night, she stayed quiet. Barely touched her food. She left early the next morning and hasn't been back since. Then the reflections started showing up elsewhere. Not just in mirrors. In the microwave door. The dark screen of my phone. A window late at night. Always the same. My face. My clothes. My body. But the expression isn't mine. It watches longer. Blinks less. Smiles at moments I don't. One night, I turned off my bedroom light and caught a glimpse in the TV screen, me, standing in the same pose, but grinning. I wasn't. I flipped the light back on. The smile was gone. The whisper. I started sleeping with the bathroom light on. Door open. Something about full darkness freaked me out. A few nights ago, I got up at 3:12 a.m. to pee. Half asleep, I walked past the mirror without looking. But as I passed, I heard something. It sounded like someone whispering from behind the glass. Just one word. Soon. I turned so fast I nearly fell. The mirror was still. Empty. Just my terrified face staring back at me. I covered all the mirrors. Yesterday, I went through the apartment and covered every mirror with towels and blankets. I taped cardboard over the big one in the hallway. Even turned the bathroom mirror to face the wall. I haven't seen it since. But last night, it found another way. The dream. I dreamed I was standing in my apartment, looking at myself. But not in a mirror. The other me was physically in front of me. Same clothes. Same posture. But the eyes were darker. Lips too wide. He raised a finger to his lips and said, "Shoo." Then he whispered, "The more you watch, the more real I become." Final update, for now. Just now, as I'm writing this, I got a FaceTime call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. They called again. This time, I picked up. The screen was black. Silent. Then it flipped to the front camera. And I saw myself. But I wasn't holding my phone.
If you made it this far, thanks for staying with me. Some of these stories, they stay with you longer than you'd expect. Take care of yourself out there. And as always, stay safe.